To me, rock climbing, especially bouldering, is very much a way of physical problem solving. And through that, I just get to see people around me in the gym, outside, who are just incredibly strong, doing really cool stuff. And I look at them and I'm like, I really would like to do that. Hi, my name is Reuben Hoyos, and I'm a rock climber. In short, the reason I climb is it's freaking sweet. It looks great on Instagram and even better in a Tinder profile. But in all seriousness, I climb because it's a way of therapy for me. It's very relaxing being on the wall, just you, your feet, and the rocks. Whether that's inside or outside, it's kind of scary. Sometimes when you're leading outside, there are moments where you're like, I'm not sure if I fall, if I'm gonna be okay. And oddly enough, that's kind of calming.
You're just like focused on the moves, like you're breathing, and it's like therapeutic in a way while you're also like getting strong, feeling good.
But in football, like you can power your way through. You know, if you're running the ball, like power will help you, and it will help you in climbing, but you can't overcome the wall. You can't dominate the problem. You've got to learn how to work with the problem. It's like, you can't muscle your way down a black diamond when you're skiing. You're going to learn how to do it well, right?
It's everything that you have, and that's it. Your belayer on the ground can't help you. You know, the people who have trained you can't help you. Everything you've seen on Instagram can't help you. It's just you and the wall. And that's just so cool to me. So the summer before what I thought would be the sophomore year of college for me, I took my little brother to a rock climbing gym down the street from where we lived, Climb Nashville. And while I was there, I ran into an old friend of mine from high school who was a yoga teacher, who jokingly said, like, haha, if you ever want a job here, let me know. And I laughed because at the time I was living and going to school in St. Pete, Florida. But as the semester began, I ended up getting into some trouble and taking some time off school. When I moved home, I found myself kind of just laying around all day without a job, without school. I was really kind of losing motivation. So I hit my friend up and I said, hey Zoe, how about that job? And 2 weeks later, I had an interview, and the next day I started.
My name is Lance Brock. I'm one of the owners for Climb Murfreesboro.
So my most defining memory with Lance has to be a few months into me working our staff Christmas party. And he took the role of bartender extraordinaire. And I just remember how much fun he was having, getting to like interact and getting to really know as many people on staff as possible, while just everyone was in the Christmas spirit. And it was very clear that this group of people was Lance's second family.
At the time, there was no gym in Nashville at all, and I was driving to Cool Springs to climb 2 or 3 days a week. And I just thought Nashville could use a gym and be a lot more convenient, and I just thought it'd do well. So I think we wanted to open a gym because it was something that we were passionate about, and we loved it, and felt like it would appeal to more people. I know that could be dangerous to for your hobby to become your profession, but that worked out well. I liked that. I was just doing something I loved and watched other people doing something that I loved, and so to me it seemed like a natural fit. One of my favorite moments is when a little girl came into their family for a birthday party, and she was in a wheelchair, and they assumed she couldn't climb, but we were able to rig up something and get her climbing. And it meant a lot to me, seeing like what it meant to her family and her, you know, to participate when she wasn't expecting it, and often she couldn't. That's really cool. It's kind of a game changer for me. I think at the time I probably couldn't have said it as clearly now, but you know, now I know climbing is transformative, and I've seen that through those stories like with Lily and different people who've come in and their life has been changed because of what we do. But reflecting back, like my life has been changed through climbing, indoor and out. But I think that's what was driving us, and we just didn't know it yet. But we knew Nashville could handle a gym and needed one, because the gym in Cool Springs was small. We bought it and eventually sold it. It wasn't really our vision of a gym. Yeah, I mean, I think we knew that climbing would appeal to more people than what was currently happening. I think Reuben's helped because he's like an evangelist. He's like a climbing evangelist because he's so friendly and he's so passionate about it. And I think that comes out through, you know, like I'm passionate about it and I love it, but it's meant something to Reuben too, and he wants to tell people what it's meant to him. And I think that's really cool, you know, because he's never met a stranger. He loves climbing, and guess what? He wants to tell you about it. And it's a big help to us, right? Because he wants to share his passion for climbing and bring people here, so it's huge.
Reuben and I have been dating almost 3 years.
So as of October 21st, 2014, I entered a pretty serious relationship with my now girlfriend, Celeste.
Reuben and I actually met on Tinder. We matched on Tinder and talked for a while and apparently made plans to meet up. I just forgot about it and didn't show up, and he just decided not to show up. And then a few weeks later, we ran into each other on Belmont's campus, and I was like, oh, maybe he won't recognize me, like this is awkward. But he did, basically immediately. And then I think the next night we went on a date, and there it is.
We climb together a lot, and we kind of push each other. It definitely really helps having someone who you know cares for you, pushing you hard when you're falling a lot and you just kind of feel down on yourself. Just having that person there, that constant person who you trust with both your safety and your ego, pushing you a little bit further.
I think Reuben he's strong-willed. He's very motivational. He's very motivated himself, and just he puts that off to other people and motivates other people. And he's just a genuinely friendly guy. Everyone he meets, he's just friends with them.
It's hard not to be friends with Reuben, even though he's my employee, you know? He's the kind of guy who just right away you're gonna wanna go grab lunch with him or whatever.
When I first met Reuben, he was still just getting into rock climbing. And over the past 3 years, seeing him advance so much, in his skill and his strength, and just his increasing enthusiasm and stoke for climbing, truly is inspirational. And seeing him climb, he just puts absolutely everything he has into it.
So I've been climbing for right up on 3 years. I started climbing September 21st, 2014, actually when I got my job at Climb Nashville. Before I started working at Climb Nashville, I really didn't know all of the culture that went into climbing. I thought it was just kind of your normal recreation center, but I was in for a huge surprise. So the climbing community is super different from anything I've ever been a part of in the past, because it's more than just a sport, it's an entire lifestyle behind it. From people living in vans and traveling the world to people who will just drop everything that they're doing for an entire weekend and go play on rocks. If you think about that, the people who are willing to do that are a little off their rocker, and I freaking love it.
I think part of the reason I did fall in love with rock climbing is there is such a good community of people. It's very easy to be intimidated when you first start rock climbing. You see, you come into the gym and you see all these super strong people doing these insane moves. And you're just over on your little easy one, trying to get up it, out of breath, and you get down and some super strong climber will be like, dude, that was awesome, great job, you should try this one next time, or try this, it'll be a little easier, and just so encouraging and so welcoming.
I started climbing in the early 90s, and I really took to it, you know, I'm not a particularly athletic person, but I just took to climbing, and to me it was a kind of a natural fit for just a smaller, smaller folks. Can be real determined. It's a kind of a problem-solving thing. In some way, it's more like skiing or golf or something, where you're trying the more difficult path, but there's problem-solving with how you do it. It's not just about your agility or speed or coordination.
While rock climbing does still have a bit of a competitive aspect to it, everyone is so uplifting and wants others to do well. like in their own climbs, whether it's something super hard or they're just working on like an easier thing. Like everyone's so uplifting with like people around the community. It's just been really great.
To me, the climbing community is one of the most accepting groups of people, mostly because up until very recently, not a lot of people were like raised into climbing. It's something that people found along the way from people who just enjoyed dirtbagging. And through that community, you have just a whole lot of people who don't care what your past is, who don't care like what happened to you when, but you're here now and they're super happy that you're there. One of the biggest anomalies about the climbing community, and what I really think sets it apart from other adventure sports, is the way rock climbing exists outside. When you go outside, things aren't rated by difficulty in where they are on the wall. They are where nature put them. So you have some of the hardest climbs in the world next to some of the easiest. So you have incredibly top, like world-class competitors climbing next to someone who it might be their first time ever outside. In my first 8 months of being back in Nashville after college, climbing was my escape. Even though I was working 2 jobs, I found time to climb every single day. And honestly, it wasn't good for my body. I went from not putting heavy strain on my fingers to incredibly heavy strain on my fingers every single day, not taking a rest day, because climbing was really the only thing giving me catharsis. It was the only thing making me feel like I wasn't where I was. And I love it for it. And it beat up my body. Last March, while I was climbing on a slab route at the gym, I cut both of my feet and one of my arms stayed in place because I was gripping the hold so hard. And when my entire body let loose except for my arm, I felt an adjustment in my shoulder. I didn't really think anything of it and continued climbing. Later that night, I felt a stiffness that I'd never felt before in my shoulder, and when I woke up in the morning, I had about 30% mobility. And to be honest, I was terrified. I didn't know what was wrong, and I didn't know how to fix it. I really held off on going to the doctor for a long time and tried to just kind of ignore it until I realized I literally couldn't climb through the pain anymore. The shoulder injury led to me taking easily 4 to 5 months off climbing. And it was devastating at times. It was during some of my most stressful times at work, where I was working doubles almost every day, and I didn't have a release. I felt like I was going from one job to the other, sleeping, waking up, repeating, without anything else. It felt like life just hit this monotony that I just was kind of over. And I needed climbing back in my life, but I couldn't. I spent time doing physical therapy and slowly strengthened up the muscles around my shoulder. Is that 100%? Absolutely not. Will I have to get surgery eventually? Absolutely. Do a lot of people think I'm batshit crazy for saying that? Yeah. But right now, I'm not at a point in my life where I want to take some time off climbing. If I'm gonna have to get surgery, I'm gonna have to get surgery. Why not do it on my terms? So right now, I'm working, I'm in school, I'm filling my schedule with everything I possibly can, but I'm still climbing.